Hello there. What is going on, everyone? We are going to be talking about the best Star Wars game today. We're focusing on board games, which I typically do. I cover a lot of Star Wars board games. If you followed me for a while, you'll know this. And I want to talk about the best because there's quite a few of them out now. Now, I'm not going to cover every single Star Wars game ever made. Over the years, there have been plenty and many favorites of mine, especially that Decipher Star Wars game, which was way back when I was a lot shorter than I am now. I remember getting into that game and having some good times with it. But there have been a number of great games that have come and gone over the years. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm not even going to cover every single game that's currently in print right now, but I am going to go over some of the best Star Wars games, and I will be bringing to you my number one, the best Star Wars game. Now, what I'd love for you to do is let me know, pause the video, let me know down in the comments what you think the number one Star Wars game is, and then we'll see if you get it right. Leaving a comment also, if you're already a subscriber and leave a comment, that gets you entered in to win that big $100 Amazon gift card giveaway that we have going on right now. There's still time left to enter to win that. We'll be announcing that next week, so you have plenty of time, but definitely enter. All my giveaways work that way too. Just be a subscriber, leave a comment, and let's get the discussion going. There's more links in the video description below if you're interested in following social media or our family-friendly gaming Discord or any of that cool stuff. All that stuff is down there. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the best games, and basically we're going to build our way up to number one. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Let's jump right into it. Let's start off with the Star Wars The Deck Building game. This is the newest Star Wars game from Fantasy Flight Games right now. Granted, they do have another card game coming out next year, but I can't rank that one yet because I have not yet played it, as many of you probably have not yet played it. Although if you are going to conventions, they are setting up some early demo sites where you can play the new Star Wars Unlimited, but I can't really talk about it yet because I haven't played it yet. Fantasy Flight Games, if you're watching, I'd love to check that out if you want to hook me up with some early access stuff, but for right now, let's talk about Star Wars The Deck Building game. It's actually a surprisingly fun game. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did when I first heard about this and looked at it. It reminded me a lot of the game Star Realms, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So the game Star Realms is actually an incredibly popular and incredibly successful and very satisfying game. But when you constrain it within the Star Wars IP, you limit it a little bit. For example, Star Realms has 4 factions in the base game, and really in this game you only have 2, so it only has like half as much content as Star Realms. So that initially made me think, geez, this is not going to be that good. And playing it multiple times, it's surprisingly much better, much better than I anticipated. It's not the best Star Wars game, though. It has its limitations. I should probably do a whole video talking about Star Wars The Deck Building game, but for right now, I will say it is enjoyable. For a 2-player game. There's more than 2-player variants available, but it's a 2-player game. And it's enjoyable. Star Wars X-Wing. For me, this is the game that started it all. And for a time, it was, in my opinion, the best Star Wars game. But it's not right now. There's a couple of reasons for that. For one, it's been out for so long that other games have come out that have sort of eclipsed it. But at the same time, it's still been great. It has incredible memories, pre-painted miniatures, a huge hit for so many people, got so many people, including myself, into tabletop gaming. I remember seeing X-Wing played for the first time on Will Wheaton's show, Tabletop. Wonderful experiences from back then. I actually really loved that show. I missed it too. Will Wheaton did a great job of making, showing how much fun tabletop gaming can be. And it got me, it pulled me from video games to tabletop gaming in the half an hour or however long the video was. I was hooked. They had so much fun. They even made some mistakes with the rules, which happens. We all make mistakes with the rules, but man, it was great. And X-Wing has come and gone. I think one of the things that hurts X-Wing for me is having played for so long, I've got so many rules in my head. There's the original rules. There's all the erratas we've had. Then there was 2.0. Then there was some erratas for that. Then there was 2.5, and then there was huge ships. Initially weren't in the game, then they came into the game, then they were gone, and then they came back for 2.0, and now they're gone again, and now they might come back at some point. It's a little it's like popcorn in my brain. So that kind of pushes me a little bit away from X-Wing. That's one reason why X-Wing is not the best Star Wars game. Star Wars Shatterpoint, on the other hand, only has one rule set. It's also the newest game from Atomic Mass Games. Their only Star Wars game that they actually created from the ground up has a vibrant and bright, long, huge future ahead of it. Features amazingly sculpted miniatures and I guess maybe a narrow but important look at terrain. This game is less about combat and much more about area control. It is an area control game. It's not a combat-oriented game, though the minis and a lot of the artwork would suggest that it is very much combat-oriented. You pretty much can't kill anybody in this game. I mean, you can sometimes you can kill one person if you really, really want to, but typically you don't kill anybody in this game. So it's really not a game about combat. It's more of a game about I'm shooting you just to push you away from the area, which offers a completely different type of gameplay than most other games. And so I feel like it's a Star Wars game masked as, or it's basically almost like a Euro type of area control game. Maybe not Euro, because it does have dice. With a Star Wars skin on it. And it's a beautiful Star Wars skin. Also allows really cool squad building that is that's kind of all over the place, where you can just build your dream team. You can have, Darth Vader and Darth Maul team up if you want to. And there's all kinds of cool things like that. You can have Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi team up if you wanted to. Just all kinds of dream teams type of things that you can do with this game that you can't do it anywhere else. But I will say that the fact that you can't really obliterate your opponent, you can't really, table somebody or kill, more than one unit, even if you're really trying to. That the fact that it's more of an area control game, well, that's not bad. To me, that makes it not necessary. It narrows it just enough that it's not the best Star Wars game. Star Wars Legion, for a while, was the best Star Wars game. For quite a while. You could even argue that it is the best Star Wars game, and it would be a strong argument. Star Wars Legion is an incredible game. It is almost perfect. It is almost perfect. Star Wars Legion is the war game to try to have Star Wars compete with Warhammer 40K. It plays on the big 6x3 board. You've got big armies to paint. Really, it's going through some rules changes with the shift from Fantasy Flight to Atomic Mass Games. Some of that transition was a little rocky. It's starting to really smooth out right now, and Legion kind of went through a little bit of a bumpy road, and it's on a path to a really long and beautiful future right now. It's got a lot of development energy behind it, and it's going to have, plenty more in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a second edition for Legion within the next couple of years. I think that would be a good idea. We kind of had something like that recently where AMG kind of released a new rule book. Granted, I feel like there's a stigma behind, using the term editions. Games Workshop does it for all of their games. It's just a known. You're going to get a new edition like every 2 or 3 years, or every couple of years. You're going to get a new edition for every one of their games. Doesn't mean you can't use the old stuff. You can still use the old stuff, but a whole new set of rules and balance passes keeps all of these games vibrant. I think it'd be a great idea if the folks at Asmodee, said, look, this is just what we're going to do. Reason they don't do that, I think, is because X-Wing, when they went to second edition, there was a lot of pushback because parts of the game were made not usable, and so it was I think they could have done that a little bit better. But if you come up with a way to call it a second edition and have a complete redoing of all your rules and your components, while allowing people to still use the components, and I feel like AMG could be on that track with the erratas that they're able to do with the new website and the capability to do a new rule set. I think that would be a great idea at some point. I'm not saying it needs it right now, but I could see them doing that and keeping the game fresh, a way to kind of reinvigorate every new unit, because they're doing a whole new plastic set for every single Legion unit. I think that would coincide greatly with maybe a refresh or a revisit and a balance pass on a lot of older units that don't get used anymore, and you could wrap that all up into a second edition. be the second edition doesn't mean the fundamental rules have to change, but it means it gives you an opportunity to go in and do a refresh on everything. So, and I feel like that's, AMG's kind of started to do that type of stuff without calling it a second edition. And I think the only thing that I have kind of that makes Legion not the best game is because it's at an awkward scale for Star Wars. There's certain awkward things that prevent it from having a lot of the stuff that I think it should have. For example, it's hard to run all of the heroes that you want to do, and that's a strength that Shatterpoint has over it. I can't really run, the whole gang of heroes from the Rebels. I can't run all the heroes that I'd like to run. There are some battle forces that make it a little bit more feasible. They're getting very close, but I can't run the Ghost Crew. I really want to run the Ghost Crew. They don't have them yet in Legion. And you would think that they did because Sabine came out so many years ago. They came out with Sabine Wren, but nobody else from the Ghost Crew. So, there's little things like that. The other thing is there's still no AT-AT. I can't do the Battle of Hoth in this game, and I really, really want to. And I don't think they'll ever do that because an AT-AT would be just a little bit too big. If they made this game like a 10mm size game, it would have probably been perfect because I really want to be able to do those epic, huge battles. And Star Wars is known for those. So being able to do epic, huge battles without the epic, huge vehicles is a little bit of a, oh, shucks, Still really fun gameplay. Super great game. Also, I want to thank today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. If you guys play Legion, you can check out some of these amazing full metal tokens. Also, tokens compatible with XWing and any Star Wars game for the damage tokens. For a Shatterpoint or any game that uses damage tokens, you can definitely head over to luxuryplaystyle.com. Check out their amazing set of gaming tokens. These are full metal tokens. They are double-sided. They are painted. They have sparkly bits in them. They're absolutely gorgeous. You're going to love these tokens. You're going to feel really good when you actually see them in person. They are magnificent. Use code Crabbok VIP while you are there. Crabbok VIP. That'll save you 15% off of your order. And if orders that spend $35 or more while supplies last, that use that code will get a free Crabbok token with the lightsaber nunchucks on it. It's dark side lightsaber nunchucks on the back, the blue side on the front. It's an absolutely gorgeous token. You're going to love it. Head over to luxuryplaystyle.com. All right, moving forward. Star Wars Armada. This is I've made very few secrets about what my favorite game is. It's definitely this one. Star Wars Armada is fleet combat. It's got a sliding scale which allows it to have the really, really big stuff. X-Wing and Legion were kind of more at actual scales, like a 1-to-1 kind of scale, so everything was in relative to everything else, and that's what kind of kept some of the ultra big units from showing up, like the AT-AT walkers. AT-ATs, as I call them. But Star Wars Armada doesn't have that problem. We have a super Star Destroyer in Star Wars Armada. So we've got the little things, we've got the little fighters, we've got the super huge ships. I love this game. I love everything from setup to victory or to defeat. It's always a really good time. There's certain things that I'm not super crazy about. I'm not super crazy about squadron play in this game, especially if you really focus. If you have a build that's focused on squadron play, it tends to slow the game down a little bit. If you have two people playing each other that are both heavy squadron builds, that game can go, 2 or 3 or even 4 times as long as, another game that has very few squadrons in it. So I feel like if they ever did an Armada 2.0, one of the things I'd like to see is something to help speed up the squadron game. I have plenty of ideas on that, but the point is, squadrons can slow the game down a little bit, but that's not necessarily a deal breaker because they're still thematic as part of Star Wars. They're beautiful, beautiful ships. Again, pre-painted. You don't have to build them out. They're all you just open the box, set them on the base, and go. Really, really beautiful ships. Great game, very strategic. Great movement system. Great. Weapons system, how you have different types of weapons that all function at different ranges, all from one ruler. It's complex and simple at the same time. It's pretty much, it's almost the perfect game, almost. One of the things that kind of cripples it right now is that there's no new expansions in development that we're aware of. It's not discontinued, it's still being supported, and we still get new content at least once a year so far from Atomic Mass Games in the form of the new Rapid Reinforcements expansions that they've been putting out. So there is still some life left in the game, but at the moment it seems like it's kind of on life support. Now the community is still thriving, people are still playing it, store championships, qualifiers, worlds, all still going on. So it's still a very much a live game, but boy, it'd be nice if it had some new expansions coming out for it. And I think that kind of means that objectively, I can't say it's the best game, even though it may be my personal favorite. Probably not the best game. Well, it's personal favorite out of the games that I typically cover. There's a lot of there are some other games that I really, really love. Like I love Twilight Imperium, for example, but that's not a Star Wars game. I don't talk about it very much. I talk about it sometimes, but yeah. Let's go into a whole different game. And I used to cover, I don't really cover anymore. So Star Wars Imperial Assault. Look, folks, if you haven't ever played this game, you're probably missing out. This is an incredible game. It is still created, although it is no longer in development. So it's not like supported with like tournaments and new content, not even like free digital content, although they did have that for a while. Imperial Assault is one of the most robust games ever. Like this core set, which debuted for like $100, and people were like, "Oh, it's a big box. It's a little pricey." I'm like, "Yeah, but you know how much content there is in here?" First off, it's a campaign, kind of like Descent. It's the easiest way to explain it. It's like a dungeon crawl campaign. You can play this with up to 5 people. One person has to play the Imperials, and you can have up to 4 players play Rebel characters. You can have a single person play all 4 rebels, or 2 people play 2 rebels each, or something like that if you want to do that also. So it's kind of flexible. But it plays kind of like an RPG. You do a mission, you follow the rules. The Imperial player is kind of like the dungeon master, but they're actually playing a very strict set of rules. Also, they're trying to counter you, you're trying to counter them. And then at the end, people get credits and points. You can level up, you can buy new guns, etc. Move on to the next. There's a whole expansion book. Very fun and satisfying gameplay. It comes with a whole bunch of minis in it, and it also comes with cardboard tokens because there's so many units in this core set just alone. It's a massive amount of content, more content than they've ever put out in any game ever, that I've ever seen in any game in this core set just alone. There's a ton more content. But in addition to this campaign with all the stuff they have, there's also a whole fully functional skirmish game, which is the battle royale. Me versus you. I'm going to build a whole squad versus your whole squad, and we're going to just death match it. That has had there have been a lot of balance changes to this game over time. So if you're picking this up, you can certainly play with what comes in the box, but you may want to also look at some of the errata and the adjustments and things like that. There's also a whole entire community that is continuing to create expansions and content for Imperial Assault. So while it's not in new product development by Fantasy Flight Games anymore, and how a lot of that had to do with licensing, this game was going strong, and I think they had every intention of continuing to make this if they could. There was some stuff. There were some things. I think Hasbro had the board game license, and it was all kinds of complicated, such that they can't really tell you the meat and potatoes of it, because that's a lot of behind closed doors kind of things. But what I will say is that it's unfortunate that we never got to keep Imperial Assault going. I know that they had plans to, and I know that they wanted to, but and it was so good that it'd almost be cool if they were to do another, like a generic, like a Twilight Imperium based Imperial Assault type game going, called like Twilight Assault, and market just like this and be like, look, we're just gonna make our own stuff, and it's gonna be that kind of game. Like that would be a pretty cool thing. I think they could get behind that. I think it wouldn't have the Star Wars license, but I think it could have the appeal because it could be like, hey, if you liked Imperial Assault, check this out. Anyway, so much content is still out there for this game, like 40 something, maybe more than that, maybe 50 expansions for this game. It's a ton. A lot of big box expansions and even more small box blister expansions. Lots of miniatures. They're pre-assembled, but they're not painted. So you have the option of painting them, although they are color shaded. So like the Imperials, I believe, are all like gray, and then the Rebels are all like, or the heroes are all like tan and stuff like that. So everything kind of looks to their own color. It's cool stuff. This is just an incredible game. But is it the best Star Wars game? No. Now, I want to know who guessed what the best Star Wars game is. Are you ready? It is time. In 3, 2, 1. The best Star Wars game is Star Wars Rebellion. This is the ultimate. It's probably the best two-player game of all time. Now, granted, the box says 2 to 4 players. Ignore that. The 3 and 4 player variants are completely a joke. I think they were required to say it's 2 to 4 player game, so they basically said, like, I've said this before when I've talked about this game. Chess can be a 32 player game, like if everybody has an individual piece assigned to them, right? So that's kind of how they just split it up. It's just like, oh, well, you get to do just this part. Like, imagine Monopoly. It's like, well, you get to roll one die, the other person gets to roll the other die, and the third person gets to move the piece, the fourth person gets to touch the money, and so it's dividing things up. And like, no, it's Rebels versus Empire. And if you want to make it into a 4-player game, there are rules for that, and it kind of divides things up. But it's a 2-player game, and it's Star Wars in a box. It has everything. It's got the fleet combat. It's got the ground battles. It's got the heroes. It's got Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. It's got some of the unsung heroes. It's got an expansion that has Rogue One based content like Krennic or Chirrut Imwe and things like that. This game is fun from before you even start the first turn all the way up until the very, very last turn. It creates these magnificent cinematic moments. It's got deep, deep strategy. It is so incredibly satisfying. Every game I've ever played has been its own Star Wars movie played out in our minds. It's a little bit rules heavy, but I just can't believe I bought this game twice because I played the first game out into exhaustion where the cards were just rubbed raw. And then bought another version and sleeved it. This game also broke my taboo of I had this thing is anytime I sleeve a game, if I like a game a lot, and once I decide, hey, I really like this game, I need to buy a whole bunch of sleeves and sleeve all the cards. The moment I do that, I never play the game again. I've been cursed. It's just this thing. It's like once I put the work into it, it's protected. Okay, good. I can move on and play something else now. This game broke that curse because I've sleeved it and I still play it all the time. It's definitely the best game, the best Star Wars game. Not just in my opinion, but it just is. Well, it has to be my opinion, right? Who else have I consulted? Well, everybody I talk to that's played this game loves it also. So I don't know. I'm coming out there with the authority of the Crabbok channel, and I'm giving it, boom, the Crabbok seal of approval. I'm giving it the big blue C. This is the best game. The best Star Wars game and one of the best games of all time. It has an expansion. The expansion definitely, brings it up to being fully the content that it adds is good, but the rules that it also adds kind of make the game really good too. Again, the base game was great. Expansion makes it even better. I also would love to see Rebellion get a second edition because it is so very good, and there's been so many more things. One of the only thing that this really, there's a lot of little things. It doesn't need anything. But I think Grand Admiral Thrawn would fit perfectly in Star Wars Rebellion because it is so much about tactics and strategy, and there's so many different ways to play. Like, dude, it's a board game, but I'll sit down. Before we've even done the first bit of setup, I'm scratching my beard thinking, oh, what am I going to do this time? I have a strategy, and if you counter it that way. And I'm playing I'm on turn 6 in my head before the game's even started. It's magnificent. It's just so very, very good. Has a little bit of a time commitment though. Once you're used to it though, once you've got it down, you can probably play it in 2 hours. But I think for a lot of people, it'll probably be like a three-hour game. You could probably play it in an hour and a half. I've had games that are just over an hour, but typically I'd say it's probably about 2-hour playtime once you learn the rules, which isn't that much longer than I think it's even shorter than a lot of my Legion games. So it's the length is just perfect. So those are some of my favorite games and the best Star Wars game. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. What was your pick? Did you guess the best Star Wars game? or did you guess something else? Again, really what's the best is certainly objective. So what is the best for you might not necessarily be the best for somebody else. So keeping that in mind, this is meant to be just kind of a fun video and a good way to kind of acknowledge some of the great games out there. Also, I want to hear from you guys. And you can let me know in the comments, also in Discord too. I'd love to hear of what are some of your favorite Star Wars games that I did not mention in this video, because there are quite a few, throughout the years. There have been a number of them. I want to hear some of your favorites. Let me know down in the comments. I will talk to you guys later. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world and help make this whole channel possible. Thank you for your continued support. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Always wash your socks, because stinky socks are just too stinky.